there's like apps where you can find other entrepreneurs or digital nomads in your city, and to sites where you can find jobs as a remote worker and blah blah blah. So I guess I'm quite interested in what you think the trends might be. Do you see this as a lifestyle and industry that's just going to grow exponentially? Are there any issues you think that we might face? Do people take it seriously? Is it a thing?
Yeah, I totally think it's going to grow bigger than the way it is, than the way it is now, for sure. You know, when you look at it fundamentally, there are so many reasons to choose that lifestyle, and when you put all of it together, I think the main reason why people haven't done it before is really the fact that it was not, it was not acceptable, or it was harder to do, or there was no internet, or a lot of the things that I actually mentioned earlier. But now all of these things are no longer a problem. You can have a very solid career of being a core developer or a product manager of a remote company, which is a very serious job, and you can choose to do it from anywhere. And there's more and more companies who are choosing that path, and they realize that there's a lot of expenses that they don't have to pay for anymore. They don't have to pay for an office space, and etc. I think that there's definitely like a tipping point for us, for people that have been doing that, chose that lifestyle already. It seems like a normal thing, but I think it's still not necessarily explored by many others. But there is this point, it's reaching that point where more and more people are being aware. And interestingly, I've met quite a few people who say, I don't think I can ever do this, it's not for me. And then next year, they get in touch with you and say, you know what, I actually, I took a trip to Costa Rica for 2 weeks in the summer, and I realized I wanted to give this a shot. All it takes is one trip, right, for people to change their mind. And most importantly, a lot of this is related to business and economic reasons. And if people find value in it, that would be a big factor. And if it's also culturally acceptable, then there's no reason for it not to be happening. And when you look at it, for example, here in Bali, it seems like there's so many digital nomads or location-dependent people. But actually, realistically, maybe that's a few thousand people, right? It's not that much. It feels like it's a lot, but it's actually not that much. And then think about it, how if it becomes more popular, then think about what this place would be. I mean, this would be filled with people. So again, Bali is not the only place where you can work.
This does actually lead on to the next question, which is I'm interested in the potential positive and negative effect of a true global community coming into being. So there are hubs all over the world that we can work anywhere we want. It can be great for us for our own reasons, but how are we affecting the cultures that we then visit? How is it any different than tourism? Marcus and Philly before were saying, you know what, it's actually not that different. And Kuta's ruined, but some people love Kuta. Is it a negative? Is there a potential for a negative impact on the cultures we visit?
Well, from what I've seen so far, the type of people that move to a place while basically putting their career in a carry-on generally are very productive and culturally aware people, and I've seen them doing good things for the community. But again, every place evolves. Every city, even big cities, evolve and they change their shape. And different crowds of people are drawn to the cities, or it could be a small place. It doesn't have to be a big city, but every single place has some sort of energy or a message. Like I could be a digital nomad in New York City as well, right? And I would do that because there, the city would send a certain message or energy, which would be driving me more, and it would be pushing me to be more successful. Or I can choose to be in Cambridge, near Boston, because I'm very interested in intellectual conversations and talking with people who are, who want to change the world. Or I could be a digital nomad in San Francisco, where people work on, very interesting, mind-blowing projects. Or I could choose to work in Bali because I am inspired by the environment, and I'm inspired by the different cultures and also the different people that choose to come here, because it's very interesting, creative people that come here. Or I could be somewhere in Europe. So, the fact of the matter is, like, every place evolves somehow. If it doesn't evolve, then there's probably nothing happening there. So I'd like to believe that the places where people, the location independent hubs will evolve to a similar way how, let's say, Brooklyn in New York evolved, or Shoreditch in London, or sort of like the hipster areas. Ideally I would like to see that happening, because I have to say, because of the co-working spaces in Ubud and in Canggu, these places have become a lot more interesting, and they've brought in a lot more driven and interesting in people. Canggu is not just surfers. There are people there who have interesting jobs and they work from the co-working space. And Ubud is not just spiritual and yoga people. There are people who work on interesting projects, and they chose that town to live in.
That's actually, that's leading us on to the concept of community, which is something that, from everybody that I've been speaking to, it's really important to people who travel a lot. They want to travel a lot, they want to experience new cultures, but it is awesome that there are now these hubs, there are now these resources, and that there are now these communities that travel with them. Like, I'm going over to Europe in May, and I already know heaps of people that are going to be over there that I know from Ubud, so I get to take my friends with me, in a sense. We're not together all the time, I don't want to be with them all the time, but like, it's a community, and it gives us not only like a sense of connection that we need as human beings, but it gives us career opportunities. The idea that you have to stay in one place to build your networks does not apply. So for you, as you travel every year, so going somewhere different, how do you feel about community and the concept of a global community?
Yeah. That's interesting, because I've thought about this before, and there's this concept that you can only have a network of 150 people or something like that. But I've come to realize, I've spent time in longer periods. I spent time in places for longer periods, in about 10 places more probably, and I have actually built like mini networks in each place. And when I want something, let's say I'm building an infographic and I'm looking for designers, I'm not just looking in, the vicinity of London or in the vicinity of Barcelona. I can just email people in Indonesia, or sometimes the best talent is not sometimes, it's already a fact. The best talent is no longer, if you want for the best talent, you no longer can look in your neighborhood, because the best talent could be across the ocean. And I have actually happened to have met people on a trip to Costa Rica that we're working together now. I've met people that I went to college with in the United States that I've worked together with, friends from Sweden that I've that I've worked together with. So in my experience, a global network is harder to maintain, but it's stronger. So maybe the biggest challenge is to make sure that you still keep it genuine, and yeah, you don't want people to hear from you only when you need them. You know, you want to make sure that that you find a way to make sure that you, even if you're in the other side of the ocean in South Korea, you still know that there's a connection between you and the person that you knew or you worked together with in the past in Sweden, for example. And yeah, like just for example, also while I've been here, I've had around 15, 20 people that I've met throughout my life that have came to visit me here, and then we decide to work on something. It's very interesting. Yeah.
So like your lifestyle is inspiring others, do you think?
Yes, actually, I've met. I actually recently did an infographic about remote working and digital nomads and recreation independent, and I have had people buying me lunch or a drink because they said, "Hey, I saw your infographic and I got inspired and I booked my flight to Bali." I've had one of the Indonesian designers that I work with. He said, he told me that he's in Bali and he wants to meet up for a drink because he saw the infographic, and I said, oh, of course. I met up with him. He said, you know what? I wanted to become a freelancer for 4 years, but I never really got the balls to do it. And he said, and I did it 2 weeks after I read your infographic article about remote work. So so actually, I've realized that that is happening, and it's very powerful. But none of this had happened when I posted a photo of me on a laptop in a coconut. It actually happened when I put together a piece describing how the world is changing, work is changing, and how can we benefit from the fact that we can be location independent as an actual solid piece of great content and information. Actually, I think I try not to post. I haven't done it that much to post photos of me with a coconut and a laptop, because I mean that's not it really. It's not. You can it just goes beyond that.
Okay, so that's really nice, but I'm just going to actually go for one more question because I've got loads of content now. It's about those of us that have the freedom, ability, or skills to live this lifestyle. A lot of us are driven by a deeper purpose. We want to live. We want to maybe find our own purpose or live according to some deeper connection, deeper meaning is important to us. Not just doing any old job, right? So
Yeah.
I see this as a privilege that we in this lifetime somehow are able to do this. It's like if you've got all the time in the world to do yoga, awesome. Not a lot of people have that. You could turn into an amazing human being by meditating 8 hours a day. A lot of people need to work. So we're in a really amazing position. How important is it for you and the people that you know that live this lifestyle to aspire to deeper meaning in life and live this life because of that?
Yeah. I mean, it is actually the reason I've been doing it is I've always wanted to be an interesting person. I'm a very people person. I meet a lot of people, and I like this human interaction, and I love to tell them a great story, and that's partly the reason why I've been doing it, because interesting. It's always interesting for people, and as a result, you know, I've traveled to, I don't know by now, 40 plus countries. I've learned around 6, 7 languages or something like that, to various levels. But and I've tried, you know, I've learned surfing. I started to do a lot of things, started acquiring skills, just because I went to that location. You know, I would have never done it if I just stayed in my hometown, and I really enjoy that. And my purpose is to tell a good story. I feel I like that. I like inspiring people, and I sort of feel like it's the most important thing for me. And that sort of life really brings a lot of great stories, and a lot of excitement in people's eyes when you share it. Because as I said, we take it for granted, but oh God, especially when I go back to countries where people don't travel much, like the United States actually. People there find me like the most interesting. I mean, some of my friends call me the guy from Dos Equis commercial. You know, they find it so interesting and so like almost unbelievable that you could like speak a few languages, which is not that big of a deal. But so yeah, I love that. That's most important. When you're happy and you know that that's sort of your purposes, then the rest of the things fall in place, like your career and relationships and all that. Then you know, so like yeah, I always put that first. Yeah, and things have worked out well.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
But that's your. Yeah, no, that's it. That was my last question.
All right.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, so what do we have to do to get hold of this infographic?